InvestorIdeas.com podcast. Good morning and welcome to another InvestorIdeas.com podcast, looking at cannabis news, stocks to watch, as well as insights from thought leaders and experts. Today I'll be talking with Hegyi, CEO of GrowLife Incorporated, which is a leading picks and shovels company for the cannabis industry, carrying a wide range of growing supplies sold throughout the U.S. and Canada.
Marco, if you could just give our listeners just a little brief background about yourself as well as GrowLife Incorporated.
Thank you very much, Taylor. First of all, I am the president and CEO of GrowLife Inc., which is the public company that holds several other subsidiaries which operate in the indoor cultivation industry. Our primary customers serve the cannabis industry, so when a grow operation sets up operations and needs to bring both equipment and supplies and all sorts of products, they contact GrowLife. We then provide them with whatever technology and supplies are necessary, first to set up their operation and then on an ongoing basis to have them purchase consumables. That's the company. I've been with the company since 2013. Tremendous company. We've had some great successes recently, and as a result, we're moving into further expansion. On the personal side, I come from the software industry, 35 years in the software industry, helped build that whole sector, and then came and joined GrowLife, like I said, 5 years ago.
Thank you for that. So we'll get right into some of our questions that I've been wondering. So recently, Colorado has upped their cost of pesticide testing. If you could just explain maybe why there is more marijuana testing going on in Colorado and also how that might affect the industry in the area. I know you guys are involved in trying to find a solution to that problem.
Colorado, I would say, is the lead indicator of the cannabis industry in the United States. We look at Colorado as being not only progressive in terms of its laws when it went live January 2nd of 2014 for recreational, but also look at it in terms of how it handles the marketplace. And the marketplace is supply, demand, seeing that the wholesale price drop significantly in Colorado gives us an indication of how the rest of the country may evolve. The primary reason for a number of these testing issues is there's a tremendous number of growers these days, and the MED, which is the Marijuana Enforcement Division of Colorado's government, is spread pretty thin. And there are instances where some of the cultivators may have contamination, which is not uncommon. When you have people going from one grow operation to another, they can transmit different kinds of pesticides. And once you get it into a large grow operation, it's not uncommon to have it then spread out and contaminate an entire room, which could be hundreds of plants. So as a result, there's a need for stricter guidelines to assure that the plants stay healthy.
As far as how that affects you and your company, what are you guys doing moving forward to try to innovate out of some of these additional costs?
Well, there's actually two parts. One is we work closely with our customers when they experience a contamination. Sometimes it's a bit too late. Depends on the pesticide or the issue that's at hand. Some are fairly reasonable and can be remedied with a number of different pesticides that are legally defined by the MED, and we bring those kind of products into the customer's hands, and then they apply and recover. Others, if they find the contamination downstream, the MED identifies it, then most of the time that entire crop is wiped out, and we've seen customers go through significant losses. So we try to work upstream with our customers and help them keep a close eye on their plans. That was part one. Part two, you said, and what we're doing with technology. So we are experimenting with different types of LED lighting and other anti-pesticide technologies which can be incorporated to kill any contamination as it's discovered, some even below human eye. So there are some technologies that we're working with right now that can identify the problem before a human can see it, and then have it eliminated.
So this testing is very much a necessary evil to control the quality of the product in the market then?
I wouldn't call it an evil. I think it's a very necessary step in assuring the quality of product. And I know all the cultivators we work with are totally supportive of it. It's not something that they resist at all. It's just something that they would like to get in front of and make sure that they deliver the cleanest possible product to the marketplace.
That's good to know that everyone's on board with the idea of keeping product quality at the sort of forefront of the industry.
I think that's one of the largest differentiators between black market and the legal market. The black market puts out whatever it does, and for whatever reasons, people buy some of that product still. But I think the product that comes from the cultivators who are licensed is always the healthiest possible product. And it's really sad when they find out about it too late, when they find out about it downstream.
So you guys are not only involved in the testing aspect of things and trying to control that factor downstream as well, but also in lowering the actual cost of growing. And a big thing is lowering the energy usage. I know you guys had posted a 70% decrease in the amount of energy that you needed. What is your technology for that, or how big of an effect is that?
So we think it's a significant effect because Colorado, for example, we've seen some of the licensed cultivators sell their crop for under $600 a pound, which is unheard of. But there's so much pressure right now because of the supply available that some of these cultivators are put 100 pounds on the table and say, we'll take $600 and per pound. And it's unfortunate because it costs a great deal. So if you break it down into what does that mean on a per gram basis, they're spending about anywhere from $1.50 to $2 to grow a gram, and then finding themselves selling it for about the same price, if not less. And when they do that, they're losing money, and that's not the business that they're in. They're really trying to deliver high quality product at a reasonable price. So a year ago, maybe a little bit more than a year ago, we started looking at the problem and said, okay, how do we have an impact? How do we help our customers? Because if our customers go out of business, then of course, we have a problem selling, and it doesn't help our shareholders. So instead, we looked at it and said, what's the breakdown? And there's enough research reports that show that the major breakdown is products and supplies are about 20%, electricity is about 40%, and labor and infrastructure are the other 40%. So that makes up the 100% of cost for these cultivators. We brought in some engineers and we said, break it down. Let's look at what we can do. If all we do is stay in the product and supply business, the most impact we can have is on that 20%. So we looked at designing these self-contained, fully turnkey grow rooms that are 8 foot by 8 foot by 8 foot. So it's a cube. And by utilizing that space in terms of electricity, which is primarily used for lighting and for air conditioning, and having nice tight units. We also went vertical so we could get even more plants in the same space. We realized we could deliver a solution that lowers the cost significantly. I mean, we're talking about 70% less cost. And that allows them to sell at what they're currently spending to grow at about 30% of what they're selling for right now. So that's exciting. We're testing our system. We finished phase 1. We started on phase 2 and 3. We're running those phases in parallel. We're learning a great deal. There's some things that worked really well and some things that we didn't give enough credit to that we are applying for the subsequent phases to improve. And we're coming pretty close to our targets.
That's impressive. Yeah, especially that you are receiving that much of a decrease in cost. So I'll move on then to something else that's something I've discussed with a few different companies, and that's since you supply to both the U.S. and Canada, if you could just maybe go into some of the major differences you're noticing just with the general business and structure that you have to deal with, as well as the legislation you have to go through, and how do you think that might affect the future of the cannabis industry in each country?
It is a very large question. If you would have asked me that a year ago, I would have said, well, it's another state. It's very progressive. Their government is very supportive of the industry. What I've learned now is it's a whole different world. It's not as easy as it sounds. setting up an e-commerce extension into Canada with a complete rebuild of our e-commerce strategy. So we don't have a U.S. e-commerce site that just simply extends out to like Canada as though it's another state. We have to treat it totally as a separate country. The way they do business is very different. Their government support is on the one hand exciting, on the other hand somewhat challenging. The way they control pricing, they still deal with delivery challenges. So I can't go into too much detail because some of it is lessons learned that I'd rather not give away to our competitors. But I can tell you that we've untied all those knots. We are expanding our presence in Canada, but it wasn't as easy as I had expected. And I'm so proud of my team because they were able to solve these problems. But like I said, we were hoping to do it in 1 quarter. It probably took us about 3 quarters. Instead of 3 months, it took us 9 months to get into Canada the way we are today.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear just because there's so much speculation about obviously the Canadian market, and it does promote itself that it's going to be very, I guess, easy, or not easy, but maybe more efficient for businesses to be dealing with in Canada than in the States because, we're leaning towards recreational use. But at the other side, even a lot of the Canadian companies are saying that there's also a lot more red tape they have to go through now because it is going to be monitored so closely.
I would agree with all that. In fact, I would caution anybody who wants to expand into Canada, whether it's a manufacturer or a supplier, to seriously talk to people who have done it already and get a sense of both timing and cost, and understand that the regulatory policies are so different, and the commercial marketing into Canada is very different than the U.S. And even in the U.S., we still have state by state differences, which create tremendous headaches for most companies. But we still have the challenge of the federal versus the state issues here with banking and the IRS. So the U.S. is
for both countries, right?
Yes. That's the way I would describe it. There are pluses and minuses, and I think the U.S. is not as much of a minus as I had originally thought. I thought Canada was going to be a bit of a nirvana, and it turned out to be like another state in terms of serving it very differently with its own unique policies.
The industry is still looked at as somewhat of a high-risk venture, while others are also saying that this industry is here to stay and moving forward. And I think most companies, obviously, in the cannabis industry agree that this isn't going anywhere. But what do you think is going to be the change for the investor market, for them to realize that it's time to really invest and think of this as a long-term project?
I think Canopy's recent investment, or the investment they received at $5 billion, really woke up the marketplace. It made it seem as though it became legitimate and much more successful. But frankly, we've seen that if Attorney General Sessions balks at the industry can fold or at least drop significantly. The day he pulled the Cole memo, we saw our entire sector drop 45%. So we were, I forget the exact number we were trading at, but in one day we lost 45% of our market cap. And there was nothing we could do. Our marketing team was great. They put us right up front and center. We were able to respond. We encouraged the federal government to be more involved. We talked about certain policies that they could help the industry, particularly around its cash management, because it introduces all sorts of crime risks. So we were right out there almost in the same day. I forget, Kathy, how we did that, but we were just right there. And even we couldn't stop the concern from investors, and we dropped half our value in that one day. So there is a bit of concern. And I frankly don't know that it's going to change in the next few months or within the next year until there's a national level, federal level type of champion who comes out, and maybe it's a senator or a governor or somebody who just speaks up and says, this is here to stay. The best we could do is normalize it across the states and have federal support and see some sort of traction move forward. So I'm excited. I believe it's going to happen. There's no doubt. There's too much demand. The medicinal side is legal in 31 states. I think it's 32 now. But recreational is also coming in pretty hard and fast with California and New York up for election in November. So I think the pieces are coming together rather well. It's just that, like I always say, it just never moves fast enough for me. I mean, we should be nationally legal, and we're not. We should be untying the knots that are slowing down a great deal of entrepreneurism. I read something yesterday that said that once the industry goes legal nationwide, we should be seeing over 1 million new jobs created. We're at about 160,000 jobs right now from the existing industry. So as these pieces come together, this is an economic engine that's going to help the U.S., not really hurt it in any way.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think, if anything, that's probably an underestimate of how many jobs it would create, because there's also all the supplementary jobs that come with it, and all the marketing, promotions, anything along those lines that all come with the industry being more socially accepted and federally accepted.
That's a great point. I mean, right now, even the advertising is highly restricted. The funds that would be applied to further marketing and getting the word out and assuring the differentiation, the quality of product that's out there, the healthiness of the product, those are funds that are going to be put into the economy. So, we'll see how fast that happens. It's right now, it's a little bit of a guess, but I do believe it's going to happen eventually. It's just not happening in the near future.
Just to throw a little recent news in there as well, and maybe your thoughts on it, and basically how it relates to what we just talked about. Aurora Cannabis with Coca-Cola this week, of the speculation that they're going to make a CBD-infused product. Do you think if a Coca-Cola comes on board to the cannabis industry, that would be the jump?
Okay, I think every 3 to 6 months, somebody puts out that, the KFC or Taco Bell is going to do a partnership, or Marlboro is going to come out with green Marlboro. I'll believe it when I see it. I mean, who's the largest shareholder in Coke? I think it's Warren Buffett. Is Warren Buffett going to step up and say, yes, let's go with, cannabis-infused product? I don't know. It may happen, but it's been an urban legend for so many years that I don't wait for that to happen. I don't think that's going to make us mainstream. I think what'll make the industry mainstream is when the federal government says we're supporting this. It's going to take us probably 2 years to make the modifications, to normalize, as I said, get the entire industry aligned, all the states aligned, and then it'll happen. And then that's when you'll see, I think, the national brands step in, whether it's Corona, Coors, Coke, Taco Bell, all these people who believe that there's a strategic add-on. But
I think we'll go federal change and then a big market adapter, but not the other way around.
I think that's a good summary, but let me bring it back to GrowLife, for example. I mean, and I just want to exemplify how essential it is. If we don't help the cultivators learn how to scale up, which means get their unit costs down, there's no way they're going to survive. They can't spend $1.50 and sell it for $1.50 and expect to grow their businesses. So there is a need for this GrowLife, Grow Room solution, whether it's us or anyone else who can drive down the cost significantly. And I mean significantly meaning 70-80% below what it's at right now. Until that happens, they won't be able to expand. And for them to expand, they need something like this. Otherwise, I wouldn't worry about Coke. I'd be looking at big pharma, big alcohol, agro, tobacco. Those are the guys who know how to scale. Those are the guys who know how to concentrate and then push out their brands. I wouldn't worry about sugar and water guys coming out with an alcohol or an alternative to alcohol. I'd be more concerned about, is on the medicinal side, where's pharma fit into all this, And then on the recreational side, how does alcohol deal with this? And how much crop are we really talking about? Where Archer Daniels gets in and says, okay, we're gonna grow, we're gonna take over an entire state, or go to the Carolinas and grow cannabis across all the states, or take over Northern California and get that going. There's just so many problems that need to be solved before you start having somebody spend serious marketing money behind it. So I do believe it has to first resolve itself at the federal level, and then it'll go commercial, because we're talking about spending millions, tens of millions of dollars in marketing to launch something like this. And I don't think the government and the consumers, the overall nationwide consumers are there yet. I think we have tremendous pockets of powerful consumers, and yeah, mom and dad are bringing edibles to the party, but but that's not the same as you go to the grocery store and you buy a bottle of vodka, and then you go to the dispensary and you buy a pound of weed. We're not quite there yet.
I'd like to circle back to something you mentioned, just because it's something that has been brought up to me before, which is large pharma corporations, or even the agricultural community, or alcohol. The reason they're sort of ignoring the cannabis market right now and staying out of it is a yield problem, if anything, for a lot of them, because they do deal with such a large-scale distribution that cannabis is almost too small to consider at the moment. Like, why hasn't Monsanto jumped into, hemp production or cannabis? Because the yields are so low. And do you think that basically the cost of production, or that the cost of the yield capacity, is the biggest hindrance for the market right now?
You ask small questions that require big answers. The short answer is yes. The yield is not there. The cost to produce is not there. So those have to be dramatically increased on the yield and decreased on the cost, which is exactly what GrowLife is about. That's why we're doing a fundraise. We're raising $6 million. We've got to raise the capital. So we're all teed up to go to institutional investors and professional money guys. But we took a step back and said, why don't we give our shareholders an opportunity to be the investors in this business? Kind of almost like a crowd fund, but we have 100,000. GrowLife has 100,000 shareholders. So we came out with something called a rights offering, which we just announced this week, and said, folks, if you're a shareholder, you can buy in and get not just a great price, but you'll get warrant coverage, which is usually only reserved for the large institutional investors. So we're gonna raise the money, but we'd rather give our shareholders the opportunity to provide it before we introduce it to the investors. So it requires capital. That capital will be used to continue the research and development to drive down the cost. We are going to begin the testing with a number of cultivators, not just one. Right now we're working with one large one, but we're going to bring it up to a number, dozens, over the next 3 to 6 months. And as we do that, we're going to show them what their true cost can be. And if their true cost can go from $1.50 to 30 cents or whatever that right number is, we think that the entire landscape will change dramatically, because we'll help them scale up, not just volume, like you just said, but also cost. We drop down the cost. The yield, though, will come from the large farms, which are already out there, but the quality is just not there. So the big question that I would ask is, what's the split? What's the segmentation behind high quality versus high volume? And what we're seeing, though, is quality really matters. It's like it's an oil world right now, because people find oil so convenient, but there's also such a demand for high quality flower that we don't see that going away anytime soon. And these are very foreign concepts to large manufacturers, whether it's the Monsantos or the Cokes or the beer manufacturers, whoever they are. They're just not there. And we talk about all these jobs opening up, but the people who know how to do this right, they're in high demand, because there aren't as many as people think. So I think it's a tremendously exciting time. I think this is something that happens maybe every 100 years, where you have this massive paradigm shift from a black to a legal market, and the people who were unfortunately, sent to prison or jail, not too long ago are now becoming the highest demand, well-paid people out there. So it's it's amazing. That's all I can say. It's just amazing to see this.
I would wonder if at some point, Excon Job Placement, if a lot of people will just get put into the cannabis industry, obviously, if they have drug-related offenses in their past.
Oh, I think it's happening. Of course, it happens, and I'm excited. I mean, talk about true second chances.
Yeah, it would be a perfect.
People have a skill set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A perfect win-win for everyone, right?
I think so. I think as long as they make that shift to the legal side, I think they have a chance to become serious contributors to society, which is what they want. I'm not saying everybody, but I think most of them, want to get back on their feet. Most of them have a tremendous skill set to bring to the table, and if there's legal demand for it, and they can come in and instead of costing society $100,000 a prisoner, they start contributing and generating $100,000 by themselves and not be that cost. I don't see that as a loss. I think it's great forward momentum. So yeah, that's a whole separate topic. Yeah, I'm excited about that too, but not many people talk about that.
No, it's it's still a bigger issue for the long run.
So just one last point to elaborate on the funding. Our capitalization is not as large as, say, the Canopy $5 billion raise. Our raise is looking at bringing in $6 million of expansion capital, and it's rare that a company has an opportunity to go to a shareholder base and say, you can be part of this, and that's what the rights offering is all about. So I can't express what a great opportunity this is, because not only do we as a company start getting that capital and put it to work to I think deliver greater value to the shareholders, but I think it's going to deliver greater value to the entire industry. And I know that may sound like a big, hokey dream pitch, but when I talk to cultivators and I say, what are you doing about lowering your costs? And they kind of say, well, we're going to build bigger things. I said, how are you going to get your labor costs down? You're going to hire more people. And then they said, well, we're going to build these gigantic rooms and we're going to have 500 plants. And then I go back and say, what happens if you get a contaminant? You just wiped out 500 plants. With these cube rooms, for whatever reason, if something toxic comes in there, so you wipe out 70 plants. It's nice and contained. So we're excited about this design. We've got patents filed towards it. We think that this is going to help a lot of people. So that would be my closing comment, is that I think we're on the right track to just not just help ourselves, but help the industry.
Absolutely. And I would like to ask as well, do you think that since you guys are going sort of that shareholder route, almost in a crowdfunding sense, do you think that the cannabis industry in general is going to start moving towards that trend as well if they see the success of your story?
That's a very good question. I haven't figured that one out. We are in a unique position of having been an early public cannabis related company. We don't grow the plant. We don't touch it. We provide the picks and shovels to the industry. So early on, we had so many shareholders get behind GrowLife that there aren't many publicly traded companies in this space that have 100,000 shareholders. So I don't know if other companies have a large shareholder base, they may be able to do the same. If they have a well-known brand and just a well-recognized name, they might be able to do crowdfunding. I would love it. I think that to me is the ultimate vote, is when you have people who actually care about your mission put their money on the table. I think that's the way to go. So I hope so. I mean, I really hope it works out. First of all, of course, for us, for GrowLife, and then if it's a replicatable model for other people who can participate, absolutely. I think it'd be a great way to go.
Yeah, I definitely think you guys are moving in the right direction, especially just with the type of people who are usually involved in the cannabis industry. They do want to feel involved and do care about quality and all those issues and are very passionate about cannabis as a product and as a medical use and a recreational use. All right, perfect. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Taylor. I appreciate the time.
Once again, that was Mark Hegyi, CEO of GrowLife Incorporated, which is a publicly traded company on the OTC under the stock symbol PHOT. That's all for today's podcast. Potcasts is now a certified word trademark on the blockchain through Cognate Incorporated CM certification. And InvestorIdeas.com podcasts are also available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Music, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and TuneIn. If you'd like to be a guest or sponsor of this podcast, please contact InvestorIdeas.com. Investor Ideas reminds all listeners to read our disclaimers and disclosures on the InvestorIdeas.com website, and this podcast is not an endorsement to buy products or services or securities. Investors are reminded that all investments involve risk and possible loss of investment.